Good morning. We are going to be learning about the Sikha of Chelek Chof, Miketz Beis. And it's a long Sikha, nice, beautiful. You say this in the Sikha. I want to focus on one aspect of the Sikha and try to understand some of what is being said there. Now, the part that I'm going to be discussing is connected to a Sikha Chelek Chof Gimel, Parshas Nasai. So, if you really want to get into this Inyan, it's good to learn both of them. We're going to discuss a little bit of both Sichas, obviously. Okay. So, this is the second Sikha in Parshas Miketz. The Rebbe is discussing the fact that there is an emphasis on my emphasis on Yosef keeping Shabbos before Matan Torah. And for some reason, that's more than any other keepers of Shabbos, which include the Avos, who kept Kala Torah Kula. And yet, Yosef stands out. And the problem is, what's special about Yosef? And the Rebbe goes on to explain an unbelievable explanation of how Yosef's keeping Shabbos is similar to the Shabbos of after Matan Torah. In other words, as we all know, famous, you say that it's famous because the Rebbe made it famous. Because repeating it so many times and focusing on it so many times, where the Rebbe spoke about the concept of the mitzvahs before Matan Torah, Reiches, and the mitzvahs after Matan Torah, which are Shem and Turak Shemecha, which means that the mitzvahs before Matan Torah are you're doing a mitzvah, for sure. But the item of the mitzvah doesn't change. You're not affecting the world in a real way of transforming it. We say transforming means revealing what it really is. However, on the mitzvahs after Matan Torah, the whole idea is that that now you can elevate and reveal the truth of the world and bring out and transform, reveal the holiness within the item, change that item from bread to matzah, and from doorpost to mezuzah, and so on and so forth, or parchment to cloth, to holy cloth, mezuzah and sefer Torah, and so forth, and on and on and on. That is the gist. There's so many details, and again, that's not our focus. Our focus is towards the middle of the mimer and towards the end of the mimer. Now, in the middle of the mimer, the Rebbe introduces a beautiful concept, which is a medrash, Parshas Nasai. And he says that all this we've spoken about, we can see in this medrash the greatness of Yosef's Shmir Shabbos. Yosef's keeping of Shabbos, what's unique about it? And the medrash, which just are the words that say, Mi hagdimani v'ashaling. Now, there's a lot of explanations on that in Midrashim. However, this one is unique in that it speaks about one aspect. Medaber b'Yosef, the Medrash says. This is talking about Yosef. And the Medrash says, because he kept Shabbos. Actually, Nick. And where does that say? This week's Parashat Vayich Tevach Ochid. Rabbi Yechanan, Erev Shabbos. This happened there, Shabbos, when he told the Shvatim, we got to shecht an animal and bear it for Shabbos. Vein v'hochen el Shabbos, and never v'hoye mashishi v'echinu. I sometimes wonder, just as a side point, with the amount of hints that Yosef dropped to the Shvatim, that who he is. I don't know if he intended his hints or not. We don't know that, but there is like so many indications, and it's incredible how when they wish to want something, you don't see it. Anyway, and then the medrash goes on, and this is the part that we're going to focus on. Amar HaKadosh Baruch Hu, the Eibishter said, Amar HaKadosh Baruch Hu, the Eibishter said, Yosef, Ata Shomartes HaShabbos Atzlei Nitna. Atayra, you kept Shabbos still when the Torah wasn't given yet. Hayecha, by your life, I promise, or I swear, Shanim Shalom Leben Mincha, your grandson will be paid back for this. Shehei Makriv Karbonai b'Shabbos. He will bring a carbon on Shabbos. When the Nesiim brought karbanis, they began their karbanis on a Sunday. Vayayim Harishon, Sunday. Vayayim Hashvi was Shabbos. And who brought the carbon on Shabbos? Nasi Livnei Ephraim, who was a grandson of Yosef. Okay, so what do we see here? As there's something special about his keeping of Shabbos. So in other words, what does he bring out to the session? It's not only the fact that the Torah writes about it, but there was something special about his keeping Shabbos regarding even the keeping other mitzvahs. And also keeping the mitzvahs that the other shvatim did, or the others even did. And that's why the Torah writes specifically only one mention that he kept Shabbos is Yosef. Now, what is this specialty that Yosef did that we see here in this medrash? And here the Rebbe goes on again to explain, and a few pages later, that while the others did and the shvatim were mekayim mitzvahs, and as much as can be done, you can only accomplish as much as a human being can do. But you can't change the world, as we said. However, and the same thing with Shabbos. What did they do with Shabbos? They acted a Shabbos to commemorate the Eibishter Shabbos. But they couldn't make this day here in this world a day of Shabbos. However, by Yosef, he was able to affect the day to become a day of Shabbos, an eternal day. And since being here in Mitzrayim, down here in the world, in his master, the Mitzri, the Egyptian master's home, even before that he took over Egypt as a viceroy, and Abishur was with him. He was connected to the Abishur. So he was able to bring in the Abishur Shabbos, Kivay Shabbos v'Kam Balachte. He was able to bring that Shabbos into the world. But then he goes a step further. That it was by preparing Erev Shabbos. And he says that even brings out a greater aspect of changing Shabbos. Why? The fact that you don't do Malachas Shabbos only brings that I am different from yesterday. I yesterday did Malacha, today I don't. Today I rest. But when I prepare yesterday, Friday, for Shabbos, why am I doing that? Because I'm showing that Shabbos is different than Friday. And it affects Shabbos. And he brings this is where we're heading to. Nahara number 60. As the Gemara teaches us, so we learn that you have to obviously prepare before. But why does it have to say that? It says it. Cook and bake before. So the Gemara learns that. Shalosh of Rashi. She has minena befiv that it makes the Suda Shabbos different. It makes Suda Shabbos choshev. So that's why the Torah, when he wants to bring out that Yosef kept Shabbos, where does it do it? In V'haya B'yem HaShlish. Right, Chinu. Because Achana shows that Shabbos in this world, this is choshev. The hefts of Shabbos is choshev. Okay, now we go back to the Medrash, and this is in Ha'ara 62, or 60, not 260, with and TOO. So now he says, which is a problem that the Rebbe addresses in Chelek Chav Gimel, and here he's just alluding to it. It's a peldik azach. Yosef, you know what? You kept Shabbos. So your grandson is going to be able to be not Chasham, Chal Shabbos. He'll be able to do a Malach Shabbos. That's his reward. So the Rebbe says here, now he alludes, he mentions Chelek Chav Gimel. What's shot in this marriage? Because the fact that what's wrong with what's the chiddush of Ephraim bringing a Karma Shabbos? So first of all, just to mention, there's a big tumult. You're not allowed to bring a Karma Shabbos and Karma Yochid. If somebody has a Karma Oila, and or it's coming with him Nadav Shlomim, or an Oila, or even a Chatos, can't bring it on Shabbos. Karma Yochid, you can't bring Karma Yochid on Shabbos. So how did the Nasi Ephraim bring a Karma Shabbos? Okay, so there's a whole discussion in Chelek Chav Gimel whether there are those who say it was that Ephraim has a din of a Nasi Ephraim represents a Shevet, and he's a Tzibur Shaila, whether Ephraim without Menashe is called. Let's see, but it's a big discussion. It's not our Indian. We're not getting in there. So the Rebbe says that the fact that he brought a Korban Shabbos, he was Hoisiv b'Kedusha Shabbos ala Kedusha Mitzadatz. It was Meisiv on Kedusha Shabbos over the Kedusha that it was. Now, to note, the Rebbe does not explain why. Now, in Chelek Chav Gimel, as an Haisafa to the Sicha, at the end, there's a very rare thing, Haisafa to the Sicha. He asks a different question. And we will get to that soon. And there he goes into a pnimistic explanation of why Yosef, why Ephraim, what's the question there? Why did it have to come about with something that on the surface looks like Chilul Shabbos? And on that, the Rebbe gives a whole arichas, not arichas, but a biur and pnimius atayah. But here we're in the nigla part of the Nesicha. And he takes for granted, Yosef in Kedusha Shabbos. So therefore, he was Moisef in Kedusha Shabbos. He affected Shabbos. So his schar makes sense. That since Hachona is Haisofa in Chashivus of Shabbos, not like by the others, it affected Shabbos. So therefore, his schar is your grandson is going to add in Shabbos. Okay. So again, if you go through the Sikha in Chelek Chav Gimel, that ever goes through this idea that you affected Shabbos. Now, this is what we're going to focus on a little bit. And again, what I'm going to say is I'm not sure in any way that this is what the Rebbe means when I saw for the Kedusha Shabbos because he doesn't explain it. So I want to suggest something based on various you say this in Shabbos, and also based on certain sichas of the Rebbe and so on and so forth. And again, I a disclaimer. I don't know that this is pshat, but it definitely is an Isaf in Shmir Shabbos, or it could be an Isaf in Shmir Shabbos. And what is that? So, yeah. So the Rebbe in Chelek Chav Gimel, just and again, that's a discussion on its own, and can sit. We can discuss this for a half hour. And the Rebbe draws a parallel from the idea of bringing a carbon on Shabbos, how that is a hisaf in Kedusha Shabbos, to the halacha of being Mechal Shabbos for a chayla. And he quotes from the Erachaim HaKodesh. The Erachaim HaKodesh says the following lashon regarding Chilul Shabbos for a chayla. Ein ze korui chilul. This is not called chilul, desecrating Shabbos. Adrabah ze korui shmirat Shabbos. And Rabbi adds v'hisafim Shabbos. This is adding to the Shabbos. Okay, so let's discuss something. Let me take you to the Alter Rebbe Simon Tuf Chav Tes Siv Ches. The Alter Rebbe tells us Noyag Medina Zeilish Kol Chedesh Nissen Einayim Tachem. Like Rachem, don't say all that. I tell you, no Tach Nagas. Which is an important point. They maskir in the Shabbos cloud, which is on Shabbos, which is people do in some shuls. We don't do it in Chabad, but some shuls they say by Mincha Shabbos, Kemal Rachman, who adin Sheinayim Rachman. Okay, that's a different. Then goes in the next halach. Sif tes. It's not really from this. It's not like Yom we don't say Tachanun. It's not mikradin. Listen closely. The samchu al masha omru chachomim shebeechad benisin nischilu anasin lakas kabeneim. Because each day a nos. Now, Chol nosi b'yom shehikriv karbonai hoya yontiv shalai. It was his yontiv, and therefore we celebrate those days as yontiv, so to speak. Okay, so the Rebbe goes on. We know the Sikha Chelek Lamed Beis, and the Rebbe discusses why. Why is it important to us what happened thousands of years ago, or a few thousand years ago? And we don't find that we're making too many zeicher to things that happened way back, unless they're influential today. And usually things that have a constant, they go on. The carbon and the sea, that was in the Mishkan, which was not even in the Mikdash. And it affects us. We say the Nasi, we don't say Tachnun. And the Rebbe says, he said, Chanukah Samizbeach, he said of Aveda, of Kol Yisrael, all Deiris. This is the foundational Aveda of the Nesiim for all generations. And Chanukah comes from the Lashon Chinuch. Just like Chinuch establishes the child for the rest of his life, that the Chanukas HaMizbeach established Avodah of the Mishkan and Avodah of all Jews forever. And that's why all the Shvatim contributed to Chanukas HaMizbeach. Because there you have every aspect of Judaism there. And why they were brought by the Nasi, because the Nasi Akel, including Kol Shevet, his whole Shevet. So that's therefore it's natural that we do make a Zeicher for the Kabbanas HaNesiim, and we make it into a day that we don't say Tachna. Just to note, in the Welt not saying Tachna is an easy thing. But by the Rebbe not saying Tachna meant it's a special day. A day that you really can't say Tachna. Not that you don't say, you can't say. Anyway, even though they brought it once, but that is the influence of the Kabbalah, even today. And that's why we say this special Yerotz and all that. Okay. So I want to just say, it's obvious that we're not going to educate a child to do something that has Chil Shabbos in it, right? We're putting us Yisayit for all Aveda. So we must say that in the Aveda of the Nesiim on Shabbos, the Karban is Ein Zeh Kori Chilu. It's Kori Shmira Shabbos and V'Hisofim Shabbos. This must be something special. You can't tell me otherwise if it's so important. That's one. To note, now this is what the Alter Rebbe writes. Chol Nasi B'Yem Shikar Kabani was his yontif. So in Sim Tov Samach Ches, Sif Aleph, Alter Rebbe tells us why we know regarding doing Maloch on Erev Pesach, Achach Chatzais. Says Manshe Beis Hamikdash Yikayim Osru Chacham L'Chol Odom Yisrael Las Maloch Beretzei Machatzei Yem O'Mali. In the time of the Beis Hamikdash, we were taught not to do Malacha. Why? Because the time of Akravas HaPesach. L'Chol Odom Shemakev Korban L'Chol Yemais Hashana Oisei Hayom Uyom Tov Shalei Midavrei. There he says Midrabanan, it's his Yom Tov, and therefore you should do Malacha. That's Kol Hayom. Could be the time of the Kabbanis or the. But there is a yontiv aspect. Maybe Lagabe Malacha, but there's a yontiv aspect. Okay, there he says with the rain, but it could be that's a difference. When you're talking about whether it's a yontiv, but it's a yontiv in the rain, the asa Malacha, that was midrabban. Okay, but you see this halacha repeated in the Alter Rebbe. Okay, I want to now take a step back and analyze what is the concept of we know that Shabbos, we say, Karoso l'Shabbos oinig. Oinig karali ema Shabbos. Is there a din of Simcha on Shabbos or only oinig? Big discussion. There are a list of people who go in one direction, a list of people who go in another direction. I'll give examples, just a couple of them. We know the famous Medrash, again, it's famous because the Rebbe made it very famous. Now, is that muchach to say that the whole day is Simcha? Obviously, that seems to indicate, but not so much. Then, there are the Torah writes that we should get ready for Shabbos and be happy with being Shabbos. And so does Alter Rebbe write. Now, even though that's getting happy about Shabbos coming, but that obviously tells you there's happiness in Shabbos. Now, there's a shaila if the Rambam holds that you can't get married on Shabbos because a married simcha simcha, so it would indicate that there's a chiyuv simcha on Shabbos. But to note that the Rambam in Hilchis Shabbos, when he says about preparing for Shabbos, he does not mention simcha. Matter of fact, he doesn't even mention any aspect of simcha, just yira. Now, just a very interesting note. Other than this Friday night, and many other Friday nights during Yom Tov, when we do Bayi Shalom in our nusach, it's gam berina uv tzahala, not gam besimcha uv tzahala. If you daven in nusach Ashkenaz, they say gam besimcha uv tzahala. It would seem to indicate that they hold that there's a chiyuv simcha on Shabbos, and we don't. But then, when it comes to Shemoneh Esrei, we say every Shemoneh Esrei yismechu b'malchuscha shemrei Shabbos. They don't. They only do it by Musaf. And I saw Soloveitchik from Boston explain that because on Musaf, this is Manakar during the time of the garden of Musaf. It's not necessarily the rest of Shabbos. So, but it's interesting, we skip their Simcha, but we put Simcha here. They skip Simcha. That's reversed. But nevertheless, in Shebel Alekid, Itaka says, why does it say Yismach Uscha? He says, because it says Yem Simchaschem, Yem Simchaschem is Shabbos. And that's why now there are different nuschayos. We say only on Yom Tov, Yismuchu B'char Kalayv Shemecha, or Yismuchu, we say V'yinuchu B'Yisrael. So he says that's why some people say Yismuchu over there. Taisa says clearly in Ksubis, Davzayin, that there is an union of Simcha. There's a lot to talk about that. The Zohar, Shmois, Parshas Yisrael, Chedvasa the Matronisa at night, and by day it's Atika Kadisha, Chula Alm Chedvasa, everybody's B'Simcha. Okay. Now, Rebbe also indicates another place of Simcha. He writes that the Neiris, let's say you have a lot of people in the same room. Can everybody light Neiris, make a bracha? He says yes, because it's Meisav Ur, and that adds Simcha. Shalom Bayis with Simcha Yisera. Just to note, there's a medrash in Esther that it says that if it comes out Shabbos, the Purim Shulish, which we're going to have this year, so the Suda is not on Shabbos. Why? Because you learn out Yom Mishta Simcha. Not a day that's Simcha anyway. No, you have to make that Simcha. And then to note that there are many, many other Shiltis says clearly in Shiltis Rabbi that there is no Simcha. Okay. He says, Oidilma Shabbos, Hani, the Chad Yemenik Shabbos Domi, Oidilma Shabbos, but on the column it says Simcha. But he says there's no chiv of eating basa v'yayin because there's no Simcha. Taisus in Moed Cotton says that the reason there is no Avelos on Shabbos is not because of Simcha, because Birchas Hashem Yitasher L'Yosef Eitzer. But Shabbos doesn't say Simcha. Again, many different places. The Shilas and Shuvas Tashvates says that he might even have he might even be able to make even make a hesped on Shabbos. L'Yashchan Shabbos Yom Simcha Eloinik Bachila. And the Yeshavelos with Shabbos and Tzina. I'm telling you, there's a lot to be said about that. There are various answers on this, but we're going to stick to what the Rebbe writes. The Rebbe in Parshas Kisava in Teres Menachem Chelek Dalet, he writes Ava bisha kol Shabbos yesh b'simcha. Yom simchas el Shabbos. Says clearly, every Shabbos has simcha. The kol makara yedua achilik shem Shabbos liyam. She'amdin ikri yonei simcha, moedim l'simcha. Hashem Shabbos ikri yonei einik. Now here, this is the key. V'hasimcha b'Shabbos eina, and in parentheses, kol kach begilu. That's not the focus. It's not revealed. But then the Rebbe adds a line. Aval yeshnam Shabbosos ke'elu b'meshach hashana shebehem hasimcha shehi be'elam b'Shabbos bo yoyse begilui when Shabbos yantiv. When Shabbos is yantiv, that adds into that reveals the simcha of Shabbos. And in order number 14, he writes there, Lo shein simcha chasron Shabbos. Adrabei neitzava. Now, as he mentioned there, Yerushalmi. But he writes, but the simcha is like a shraga b'tiara. It pales in the sense of the einik. Ya simcha nechlal is a b'tela b'einik. Ki einik the simcha kshurim is a that shenas l'chad. That simcha ain't a gilu einik. Simcha is the gilu einik. And what happens? It can be revealed because of the greatness of the einik. But on a Shabbos Yom Tov, he doesn't say that, but that's what he said before. It brings it out. Alter Rebbe also writes it in Parshas Tzav. Ein sham b'chinas gilui simcha k'biyad. So here, according to Rebbe, everything gets answered. When it says that there is no simcha, it means that there's no gilui of simcha. When it says there is simcha, it means that there is an inyan of simcha. Okay, again, here is my take on what Shevet Ephraim accomplished. Could be this is the hisafa that Shevet Ephraim did in the chinuch of Aveda of Klal Yisrael. And Shevet Ephraim is a nasi. And on his day, when he brings a carbon on Shabbos, it makes it his yontif. That means that now it's Shabbos yontif, which means that there's a gilui of simcha. So that's how he suffered in Shabbos. Till he came along, there was no gilui of simcha on Shabbos, and therefore he added that nekuda, and that's the schus that he gets. That chayecha ben bincha is going to be makar on Shabbos. Still need to explain why dafka did you add it through this? You could have added the simcha yantiv some other way. So that's why the Rebbe comes along with a pnimistic explanation of why dafka through an act that seems chil. That's in in Chelek Chav Gimel. That's not for now. But ulai, and again, I want to be clear. I'm just suggesting it. And it may only be there pilpul, but at least it gives you something to hang our hats on of what the addition in Shabbos is through the Aveda. Seid gesund, stark, Hatzlacha Rabbi.